destiny. It's kind of a tricky concept for Christians. In fact, the word itself kind of seems like a no-no, like it's off limits. But is it biblical? And if so, does it just happen? Do we have to do something about it? And more importantly, Rady, why are you even bringing this up? Let me start off by saying that it's not my plan to be controversial. I'm not trying to start a debate. But what I am hoping to bring is some encouragement and a positive challenge to those who will accept it. Now, we are repeatedly assured that God loves us and He has a great plan for our life. But that can seem just a little vague. It's hard to really grab the connection to that. And we also know that God declares in the Old Testament and the New Testament, God routinely declares in advance events that will happen. We know this, but how does that relate to you and I? So without being exhaustive and spending a ton of time on this, I want to just challenge you on two things. Psalms 139, which I encourage you to take the time to really dig into, because it is amazing. It talks about how well God knows us to the point where it says that He knows our thoughts before we even think them. So that's how big and our majestic our God is. But He goes on and says, all the days of my life were written in your book before the first one ever happened. That's a mind-boggling concept that He would know in advance, not just everything that would happen and every decision we would make, but we'll also see in the New Testament His relationship with us through it. Because it does go on, and again, there are many instances in the Bible where God talks about how He chose us and He called us from the foundation of the earth. But Ephesians 4 actually says that He chose us in Him before the foundation of the earth. So think about that. The God of heaven and earth chose you, called you. He spent time thinking about you. Well, He does continuously, but He did so before He ever made heaven and earth. That's how important you are to Him and the role that you have to play. Now, why do I share this? Well, there can be the sense of that, it's just going to happen. You know, if it's destiny, you don't have to do anything. But the reality is, the way God works, everything is done in relationship to Him. In fact, I call it a partnership. From the beginning, God wanted to be in a partnership with Adam where they each played a role in the loving relationship they had, that Adam was to be His instrument on earth. And that aspect of our God continues. That yes, it's a loving relationship, but He also wants it to be a partnership where He brings His authority, His power, His magnificence, and we're His instrument in situations. So first off, we have to be in relationship with Him, but we also have to respond. You know, so many people, even among God's people, they're just happy to drift through life with the hope of heaven down the road. My reason for sharing this and encouraging is that there would be those who will take the challenge and say, God, I want more. I want to be in partnership with, I want to be your instrument. And I'll give you a very specific example. Esther was made queen. And you could look at the circumstances of her life leading up to it, which we won't take the time on, but you can look at those circumstances and it just seems like, just life happening. But there came the moment when she was to be God's instrument. And that moment was intimidating. It was dangerous. But then she was reminded, you may have been placed in this specific position for such a time as this. And if you won't step out, God will use someone else. See, God's plan won't be thwarted, but so many people will miss the opportunity to be His instruments. We live in a world that is rapidly spiraling out of control. And while for so many that's even scary to contemplate, I want to challenge us that God knows every detail of our lives. God planned them from the beginning, knowing how we would respond. It's one of those crazy dichotomies that on one hand we have to respond, but He knows if we will in advance. So why do I even bring this up? My challenge is to God's people who will accept that challenge, is to say, God, here I am. Use me. I trust your plan, and it will be exciting.